My first memory of the Holocaust was in 1947 in Brooklyn when I was 4 years old. A couple of men moved onto my street, moved in with, I guess, family members, and I didn't know anything about the Holocaust at that time, but I remember these men. I remember the tattoos that were on their arm, and I remember kind of a not exactly a smile, kind of like they were in a daze, kind of a frozen smile on their face. But mostly I remember the look in their eyes. I have never seen such depth of pain. And I was only 4, so I didn't know what I was seeing or what it was about. But I remember that I couldn't bear to look at them. I couldn't look in their faces. I had to turn away. And that image, now I'm 64, and that image has stayed with me. I can see it in my mind like it was yesterday. Half of the world's Jewish population was killed during the Holocaust. There had been 12 million Jews around the world. Now, after the war, there were 6 million. Of course, many non-Jews were also killed. Millions of non-Jews were killed. Jehovah's Witnesses were rounded up. Gypsies were just about obliterated. Gays and lesbians, people who had disabilities, anyone who didn't fit into the Aryan mold was felt not to be worthy of living.
Now, the first concentration camp was Dachau in 1933. And Hitler started it so that he can put every opponent, everyone who disagreed with him at that time, into the Dachau concentration camp. Altogether, there were 63 concentration camps as far as North Africa, Algeria, for instance, Libya. Wherever the Germans were, there was a concentration camp. And Hitler really believed that he is going to win the war, and he will go ahead and get rid of Christianity. When you came into the concentration camp, first you were in dilapidated, terrible state of a railroad car. Many people already died right there and then. And as soon as you came to the camp, the SS people said, you go on the left, you go on the right. If you went to the left, you right away ended up in the gas chamber. Because, as the Germans said, Hitler, if you're too old, why should I feed you? Every concentration camp on their gate, when you got in, said, work makes you free. Can you understand what that means? Work makes you free. Once you got through that gate, your chances to come out was rather minute.
What happened? One day I got a word. I had to come to an address where there was one Jewish person sitting, and I got a note, Cor, move my guest. It was in Dutch, but different. But the wording was, move my guest, and I knew that understood there was trouble. If you sit in an attic or in a place in hiding for 3 years, you can't go out. You don't know what your family is doing. You get hardly food to eat. You grow unhappy. And sometimes Jewish people in hiding start to fight with each other, or even to fight with their host. That were all kinds of reactions, and then I got word, move my guest. At the end of the war, it was not so difficult for me to find a place for Jewish people, but we learned about the gas chambers, and many Dutch people were upset that they had not really been helping. So then I would go there, and I had on my body 30 false IDs. I had a friend at the town hall, and he gave me 30 IDs from people who had died, young and old, male and female. And I would come with these IDs because I had to move you from one address to another. We would even have some fun. We would look at the pictures. I did not change anything. I did not change anything in the IDs. Not the picture, because that was dangerous. I was afraid the Germans knew exactly when there had been any manipulating with an. And we would look at the picture that it was not too far out, and I said, sorry for your hair, but we have to cut your hair. And you have to put up some spectacles. You know? So we were working a little bit on your appearance. And twice I have been with Jewish refugees through a checkpoint, because the checkpoints were everywhere. A German truck would stop, soldiers would jump off that truck and stop anybody in the street. So you never knew where they could check on you. And I always said to my people when I had to move there, listen, if there is a road check, we call that a road check, if there is a checking point, then we walk up right away. Don't show any reluctance, because the Germans are observing your movements as soon as you move up. So without any reluctance. One day I got that word, I had to pick up the move a guest, as they called it. And I could, all of a sudden I was a truck stopping, and they knew they would check on me. But I was alone. So I immediately moved up to them, they looked at my ID and said, all right, go ahead. When I went mounting my bike, stupidly enough, I had put a few IDs in my socks. I should not have done that. So when I mounted my bike, they saw something sitting in my socks. They chased after me, took me from my bike. I had to undress, it was the 24th of December. It is bitter winter. I had to take off all the clothes. I was absolutely naked, and they found the correct number was 35 IDs on my body.
Well, it was Auschwitz, Birkenau. Birkenau was the women's part, Auschwitz was the men's. And I've seen these documentaries and these photos so many times of the Nazi guards standing at the railway tracks and people coming off the trains and him pointing to the right or left, which indicated whether you were going to go straight to the gas chamber or you were going to survive. And in Auschwitz-Birkenau, we stood in that very spot. And it was a very surreal, eerie feeling to hear all these tourists looking and remembering at what went on there, and to just try and imagine what went on there was pretty overwhelming.
After 3 days, I was removed from a police prison to that camp. That was started off in the camp in the Netherlands. And there I was ordered to form one line with about 15 other prisoners and to march to the barracks at the horizon. I saw the barracks, but I also saw 2 lines of German soldiers with shepherd dogs that big. It was so frightening, 2 lines, and I had to walk between them. And then when I looked up, I saw a German soldier. Much to my relief, I knew that guy. That was not a German, it was a Dutchman. It was Eric, my former classmate, we had been bullying. I had completely forgotten about it. I was so happy. I was of course surprised that the Dutchman was standing there. And when I approached him, was near him, I whispered, "Hello Eric, how are you doing?" He looked, he needed twice, and then he recognized me, and he said, "Don't count on me, bastard." Reken niet op mij, bastard. That's in Dutch, but it sounds like the English. Don't count on me, bastard.